Hello everybody, this is Jason. I'm here with the Shades of Intimacy and Modern Day Warrior Intensive, found at jasonfsmith.com. Welcome to the Daily Download, where today's topic is the Walkabout Way. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the Daily Download. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about something. It's a tradition. I have not done my fact-checking on this. How's that for opening a podcast? I have not done my fact-checking. So as I go into this, this is a story I heard, and it's interesting. And it will bring up some interesting connections and challenges in relationship. So that's why I'm talking about it, and I relate to it. So there is apparently some tribes of people on this planet. I'm not sure where. I think the story I heard was they were in Australia, some Aborigines, and they have a tradition where a rite of initiation where when you grow up, at some point in time, you are taken by the tribe. You're not really ready for this. You're taken by those you trust the most, and they kind of capture you. So you're just walking around one day. You know this is coming because you've seen it happen, and then when it hits, it hits. They grab you and they either knock you out or they blindfold you and they take you out into the wilderness and they leave you out in the darkness. So there's this moment here where you've been utterly betrayed and abandoned. And so you might ask yourself, why in the world would anyone do this? This is a rite of initiation amongst the tribes. And the idea is that you wake up in the wilderness and you're lost and you're alone. So you're lost, alone, you feel abandoned, betrayed. People who love you the most have done this to you. And you wander around. And this is called the Walkabout Way. So this is my version of the Walkabout Way. Again, caveat, this might be total bullshit. But stick with me because it's a really interesting story. So you're in the Walkabout Way when this has happened to you. And you have two duties. Two things to do. Number one is to find your way back. So you're lost now, so you have to find your way back by yourself. Hopefully your parents and the tribe has trained you somewhat on how to survive out in the wilderness. And you are to bring the tribe a gift of value. You're returning from the darkness, from the wilderness, okay, is not a guarantee. You might not make it back. But if you do, you have to come back with something. You have to come back with a talisman, a tool, something that aids the tribe, not necessarily yourself. So you've gone out into the wilderness and you've come back with something. Now, for those of you who are familiar with certain religious mythologies, then this will, definitely sound familiar, right? Moses went out into the wilderness. Jesus went out into the wilderness. There's a story for, I'm here in Utah, so I'm surrounded by the LDS faith, the Latter-day Saint faith, also known as the Mormons, and their founder went out into the wilderness. I'm not sure about Muhammad, but there's a great, rich tradition of spiritual seekers going out into the wilderness. Buddha left everything behind, went into the wilderness to pit themselves against themselves, to make a direct connection with deity, with God, goddess, the earth, the universe, and then bring that back to the tribe as a gift. Yeah, it could be knowledge, it could be a scepter, it could be commandment, it could be a new structure. So you go out into the wilderness and you survive. You pit yourself, against nature, and you learn something and you obtain something. This isn't completely far off from the hero's journey as elucidated by Joseph Campbell. And you bring a scepter, you have something, a sign that you have found your way back from the universe, and you come back into the tribe and you make an offering, and there is a final test. So now why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this? Because, first of all, it's really interesting. And second of all, I've thought of those times. It brings up those times in my life when I was in the walkabout phase. You see, this is a structure, like a cultural archetype. It is something that the universe seems fit to do to each of us on our own. To be taken into the wilderness alone, to face the darkness alone. Those days when it's just you and nobody else, against the world, against yourself even. And you must struggle through and find a relationship with that world, with God, with the universe, with the weather, with the land, and in some way make your peace with it. Do you remember that scene in the movie Forrest Gump when Lieutenant Dan climbs to the top of the mast of the shrimp trawler and amidst a horrible hurricane, and he has a one-on-one with God? This is the archetype of everyone, and it happens in relationship. It happens in relationship. It's a unit thing as well as an individual thing. So a relationship will at some time be isolated out on its own in the wilderness. It's still tied to tribe because this relationship must survive on its own out there and then return with the boon, with the gift to the tribe, to the children, to the family. Now, I'm talking about going out into the wilderness. But this wilderness can happen right here in our modern day cities, can happen right here in our big metropolis, because you can just be alone. You can find yourself alone, even in a partnership, where you just have to take a walk. Or maybe you go into a room and you're just alone. You close the door and you just stay there by yourself, and you remove all other distractions. You go into the wilderness of your mind. And the relationship often has to face these tests. And men and women do this each in their own different way. They go out into the wilderness, and then the relationship must go out into the wilderness to this alone face where the bullshit is set aside and the conversation becomes clear, and the blind barriers get removed and the veils get lifted from the eyes, and you start to feel and see into what is really going on, and the pain erupts, and it's dark, and it's you against the world, and it's you and your mate against the world, and you find what you're made of. Now, so many people sedate. They sedate. They watch the TV and they let the sparkling lights just dull their senses, or they drink the booze, or they do the drugs, or they do too much work, or they exercise too much, or they get all into religion and spirituality but actually miss the spirit, or they go after and make money. Oh, let me make the money. Let me worship at the great calf god of cash, of money. And things start to break down because all of that is sedation from the wilderness of who are you? Who are you in relationship? Who are you by yourself? Oh, brothers and sisters, have you been into the wilderness? Have you been out into the wilderness to see and to look for yourself what life is really about, what you are really about? So today's assignment, today's challenge to each of you is to unplug, to take the phone, put it down, the computer, turn it off, to go into a room and to close the door and to isolate yourself from people, to get down to brass tacks, to dig down into the earth, the loam, the rock, the sediment of your life, and find out what you are truly made of. You can come and you can start to work on the surface features of a relationship that maybe is not working, or a body that maybe is not working, or a business that is not working, or a connection to God that is not working. But until you go to the foundation and you dig down deep into the roots of the earth of your soul, of your heart, and find what's really down there, the nothingness, the void of who you are and who you are in context of relationship, and what you are avoiding. What are you avoiding in relationship to all that the one that is? How can you bring that back? How can you be a member of the tribe? You see, the walkabout way isn't something that we just do for fun. It's something that has to happen if the tribe is to survive. We must go into the wilderness individually by ourselves and then come back to the tribe with that gift and share it. And then by that way, the whole tribe is lifted up. And no one needs to be saved, and everyone is a leader. So brothers and sisters, today I challenge you, go out into the wilderness, your wilderness.